Okay, we're just gonna wait just one more minute for a couple more people to arrive here and get started. I hope everyone had themselves a wonderful weekend. Just to put this into perspective, you guys, you only have one more weekend before classes are over. So all that hard work you guys have been putting towards this remote learning is almost over. Thank goodness for you. And then as of the 19th, you can go off and do whatever it is you're going to do for the summer. So we're almost getting to that point. So you only have to push yourself for just a little tiny bit longer. Sorry, my little computer's unplugged and not what to do. Okay, there we go. All right, so just a reminder that we are going to have a quiz that opens tomorrow and closes Wednesday at midnight, and that is on fueling the athlete and hydrating the athlete. So just make sure that you're prepared for that. I haven't handed those back to you guys, but I will before the end of today, so you have those, okay? So that is that, and what else? So next week, just so everyone's aware, my marks are due on the 19th at 9 o'clock in the morning, which means I can accept absolutely nothing at that point. So I've made hard deadlines for the 16th, and that will be for everything except for stuff that is assigned later, and that will include your final for this. So your final for this, the 19th is Friday. So the final will open on the Wednesday and close Thursday at 5 because I need some time to mark it before my marks are due. And that'll be that. So that'll be the final exam, and then you guys are done. So for us, today we're going to talk about nutrition for competition. So that's going to be a two-part. So we'll do one part today, we'll do one part tomorrow, or on Wednesday rather, and then Friday will be our last one, and that will be on body mass and coaching and stuff like that. Okay, so let's start about nutrition. So I don't think this will take us the full 45 minutes. I'm not going to give you a worksheet on this until we've done all of the competition stuff because it's a two-part. So we will give you, or I will give you a worksheet for that after Wednesday's class. All right, so let's get started. So I will just share my document here with you guys, which is this one. So again, remember that there's the sports nutrition booklet that I go by, plus the curriculum I go by, so that's why I add supplements to these things. So I'm meeting both objectives, okay? And from current slide. So competition nutrition. So today we're going to cover mostly what's the sports nutrition stuff for the SMCA, and then tomorrow we'll talk, or on Wednesday rather, we'll talk about what's in the curriculum for this, okay? So some of this gets a little bit repetitive, but some of it is stuff that's new that we need to know about as well. So let's just continue with this. All right, so competition nutrition. So this is a quote from Sarah Ballantyne. In endurance sports such as Eco Challenge, good nutrition is the backbone and foundation to moving along and thinking clearly day after day, to fuel your body properly and to have it run as efficiently as possible. Knowing what to eat and when to eat is the difference between winning and losing, right? And this is assuming that you're already well prepared for that competition. So what we eat, when we eat, is really important. And we've talked a little bit about what we should be eating before and after already. So we're going to just delve into that a little bit more today. So competition nutrition, so the goals of this to talk about hydration. Now we spent a lot of time on hydration last class, so we'll just do a quick blurb on that. Carbohydrates for energy, minimum fat and fiber, protein. So we want to make sure we're hydrated, right? We want to understand that our carbs are what we really want for energy because that's the way our body uses energy most efficiently. And we want to have minimal fat in our food. Remember, our daily requirement for fat is 2 to 3 tablespoons a day. That's it. And remember, a lot of our food already has fat built into it. So if you're having cheese, then, right, we're not recommending, or it's not recommended that you just go to your oils in your cupboard and have 3 tablespoons of oil every day, right? That's not what that recommendation is. That's just giving you a sense. So now when you look at the labels, you can kind of see, okay, this has this much fat in it. So you probably don't need to supplement your fat because you get more than enough in the food choices that we have. Minimum fiber, right? So remember, fiber can cause bloating while we're competing and actually slows our digestion, so we don't get the energy from other nutrients. Protein we need to repair damaged muscle, right, after we've gone through a competition. So what you eat and drink. So sweat rate, so we talked about sweat rates. If you want to calculate your sweat rate, you can do that. It's in your workbook. I'm not going to have you go through a sweat rate calculation because then I would have to assume that everyone's going to go out there and actually sweat. But you can calculate how much sweat you make, and basically we talked about this last class, but the idea behind it is you weigh yourself. So best choice is to weigh yourself in your underwear before your activity, then weigh yourself in your underwear after your activity, and then you have that difference. So that tells you how much you sweat, but you have to add to that how much liquid you've drank while you were doing your activity, okay? Because you're compensating for what you've lost in sweat. So whatever you drank plus whatever weight you lost, that's your sweat rate, right? And then you have to know how long you exercised for. So if you exercised for 75 minutes, then you would divide that by 5, and that would tell you how much sweat that you've lost every 15 minutes, okay? So sip through to match 80% of your sweat rate. So drinking 80% of your sweat rate, okay, to keep compensating for that water lost. So if you do a lot of competitions, then that is a calculation you'd want to do, and you can do that in your book. Hydration. So the biggest thing with hydration is make sure you have easy access to it. So I know when I watch sports for the school, there's water bottles with lots of access. Now, one thing that we want to change and be cognizant of, particularly with COVID-19, but with anything like the common cold, the flu, meningitis, all of those things are pathogens that can pass through our saliva. So we want to make sure everyone has an individual bottle, okay? And I know just from watching my own kids do sports, well, I'm just going to put it in my mouth this way and not touch anything. Nowadays, we really have to be cognizant of that. So have your own individual labeled bottle. Okay, so calculating sweat rates, like I said, we're not going to do that as a group, but you can certainly do that on your own if you're interested. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about pre-event eating, right? So what should we eat? Now remember, pre-event can be 3 to 4 hours before up to right before the competition, right? So what we're thinking of doing with pre-event eating is we want to slowly build up that energy level in our body, right? So our blood glucose and glycogen. So remember, glycogen is stored in our muscle and our liver, and that's how our body stores carbohydrates, okay? So we want to build up those stores as much as we can. So I have a little video here that we're going to watch, and it's just about pre-event eating.
Listen. Listen to your mom.
I feel that regular exercise warrants. For instance, consuming food before a workout can produce comfort, and hungry is not the solution. So, what can you do? You should include something out to optimize your workout's potential. In the following video, and what to eat before a workout so you can feel energized. First thing you need to know is to consume food 3 hours prior to exercising, so you're to absorb the energy and nutrition from the food you've eaten. Attempt to consume a meal that has the right balance of protein, carbs, and fat, which will be between 300 to 400 calories, give or take. Consuming protein and carbohydrates will provide your body with the nutrition it needs to replace the fuel you'll burn away while exercising, preventing you from feeling low on energy. If you only have 20 minutes to spare prior to a workout, opt for a small snack that is easy to digest, such as a small banana, a handful of raisins, applesauce, or a piece of fruit. If you have between 30 to 45 minutes before a workout, eat no more than a couple of tuna sandwiches on whole wheat bread. It's quite easy to make and will provide you with the energy you require to give your workout 100%. If you have between 45 to 60 minutes to spare prior to exercising, feel free to consume a fair amount of complex carbs. A banana, oatmeal, and protein shake will fuel your body with protein and carbs. If you are exercising after lunch or dinner, consume food that will provide you with a decent amount of energy. Opt for brown rice and chicken breast. Brown rice produces sustained energy via its complex carbohydrates. Tofu or chicken breast provides protein for muscle repair post-workout. Egg whites are an ideal pre-workout snack to enhance your stamina while working out. Studies show that one egg provides approximately 4 grams of proteins and 0 grams of fat. Other choices include a bowl of cereal garnished with a nut granola and skim milk, a cup of Greek yogurt with almonds and berries, oatmeal with walnuts and raisins, toast with peanut butter, an apple with nut butter, 2 tablespoons, a scrambled or poached egg on whole grain toast with tomato, crackers, hummus, and cheese, a trail mix with fruits, nuts, and whole grain cereal. Now it's your turn. If you have a favorite snack to eat prior to a workout, we'd like to hear about them.
So this gives you a little bit of an idea of some choices that you can make before you start your workout. And of course, it varies depending on when you're eating and when your workout is, right? So how long it is before you're going to be working out. All right. So if we're looking at 2 to 4 hours before your event or your competition, right? So we're talking about when to eat before we're going to be super active. So often this is before a competition. Maybe you're going to a tournament. Maybe you have a race, anything like that. Okay. Again, I'm just going to remind you that the blanks here are the same as the blanks that are in your booklet, right? That's what you're going to put into the blanks in your booklet. So sufficient fluids, you need your hydration, carbohydrates you need for energy, moderate amounts of protein, because we're going to have to build up the protein that we might have broken down, and then small amounts of fiber and fat, right? We don't want a lot of fiber because it affects our ability to absorb energy. So diet's not a magic bullet. Consuming the perfect meal just before competition doesn't mean you'll perform optimally. If you combine health performance-based nutrition program with sound pre-event food choices, you'll perform optimally. It's something that you have to do on a regular basis, right? You can't just eat healthy once and expect to see tremendous results. Okay, so your pre-event meal needs to be smaller. So if you're going right into a competition, you don't want to have a big heavy meal. Something that's easy to digest, something that's familiar because you know how your body's going to react to it. High in starches. And again, we're looking at 2 to 4 hours prior, right? That's where we wanted high in starches. So starch is really where we're going to get our muscles working. So bread, pastas, cereals, grains, rice, those types of things. You want it to be low, so that 2 to 4 hours, we want to be low in simple sugars. So that can cause fluctuations in our blood sugar. So simple sugars, we're looking at things that are added sugar, right? And even a lot of granola bars would fit in this category because their sugar content is so incredibly high where really you're not getting a lot of other benefit from it. Low in fiber because you don't want to feel super full or bloated or prevent the energy from being absorbed. So avoid things that have lots of fiber, bran muffins, bran cereals, legumes, raw vegetables or fruits that have tough skins or seeds because that's really high in fiber. Low in fat. Okay, so limit how much of margarine, butter, etc. that you're having before you go into your competition. And protein in moderation, right? Low fat proteins. Low salt, low alcohol, they cause you to become dehydrated, and low caffeine, right? What you want to make sure is anything you're having that's a so-called sports drink, you want to make sure that it's caffeine free, all right? Caffeine can really impair your ability to be coordinated, cause spasms, and it increases your heart rate already before you even start your competition, okay? So 2 to 4 hours prior, so here's some ideas for grains. Here's some ideas for vegetables and fruit, meat and alternatives, and some dairy products. So these are some ideas for you. Okay. Now, if we're right before the event, you don't have to have a snack. So you're going to drink just as you would regularly drink, right? So you want to drink before. We talked about a drink schedule already with our last, when we talked about hydration. Simple sugars in this point are okay because it's right before. So we want that big push of sugar. Low in fiber and fat, low in protein, some sodium, and then again, something that's familiar because you don't want to start eating unfamiliar foods where you don't know how your body's going to react to them. Okay. All right. So during an event, often it depends on the event and it depends how long it is, right? If you're running a marathon for one thing, or you're playing a 30-minute badminton game or what have you, right? It really depends on the event. So provide simple carbs. So while you're doing the event, you can have simple carbs. If you're running a marathon, maybe it's a drink that has carbohydrates in it. This will extend the time until your glycogen stores are emptied. So some of you have been involved in competitions where you hit a wall, which is also referred to as boinking, which I've never heard of before, where you just don't feel like you can go any further. It's complete total fatigue. So that's when your glycogen stores have been depleted. Okay. So competition snacks, small high carbohydrate snacks. So fruits are a good source of those carbs. Portable and pre-packaged, so you can take it with you. Again, familiar, so your body knows how to react to it. Contains fluids, needed only for training sessions that are longer than 45 to 90 minutes, right? So that would be like running a marathon, or you're riding your bike for several hours, right? As opposed to something short. Something short, again, we can deal with just water because we won't have eliminated our entire glycogen stores. So competition snacks, low sugar cookies, fig cookies, they have dates in them usually, or figs rather, with the date bars as well. Granola or cereal bars because they're very high in sugar. Dairy products, not really something for the competition, or meat and alternatives. So we're just looking at sugar sources, right? Fruit, we want to keep our fruit to stuff that doesn't have a lot of really hard fiber because we don't want to eat fiber at this point. You can get sports gels and sports drinks or other sources of quick sugar. Okay, this is to just increase that level of sugar so your body can quickly produce ATP again. All right, mid-competition snacks. So some ideas. So this is a recipe that's been provided by the Sports Medicine Council of Alberta. So Carnation instant breakfast with some skim milk, plain yogurt, fruit juice, and fresh fruit. Just something to have while you're in the middle of your competition. So maybe you're a runner and you've done one heat, and now you're going to wait another half an hour before your next heat. Okay. All right. Afterwards, we have to recover. Okay. So post-event eating goals: rehydrate, refuel, and rest. So rehydrate, make sure you're drinking. Okay. We've talked about the importance of hydration. Refuel your carbs, your proteins, increasing your electrolytes, which can be done with food, doesn't have to be done with drink, and resting. Okay, so those are our 3 R's to promote post-exercise recovery. So this is after your event or after a hard workout. So we'll just watch a little video on this.
If you're training for many hours each week, how many of us put in the equal amount of hours into our recovery?
We will try that again.
If you're training for many hours each week, how many of us put in the equal amount into our recovery? A lot of us are guilty of neglecting this important subject, and if we take the time to focus on quality recovery, it will have a positive effect on our performance in training and competition events. The most important way to recover is through nutrition and hydration. And we have 3 reasons why nutrition will help you recover even faster. Exercise uses fuel which is kept in your internal carbohydrate tank called the glycogen store. During a workout, this tank can become depleted, the rate of which is dependent on the volume, intensity, and duration of your workout. A great way to regularly fill your tank and also replenish your glycogen stores after a workout is to consume nutritious meals or snacks containing carbohydrate. It's also important that these post-workout meals contain protein, and examples are chicken and a salad sandwich, a bowl of cereal with milk and fruit, a fruit salad with yogurt and nuts. High-protein foods are essential to help us recover quicker. Muscles break down due to the stress from training and competing. By regularly consuming protein, especially post-workout, it will help reduce this breakdown and provide your body with the amino acids it needs to repair and rebuild these proteins. It also gives you the building blocks required to build new muscle tissue. Staying hydrated by drinking plenty of water regularly is key to the recovery process. If you are thirsty, it's usually too late. Being dehydrated will affect your concentration and restrict your body's performance. So pre-workout and during exercise is equally important.
How important is recovery?
So from a nutrition perspective, recovery is really important. So if you think of the 3 R's of nutrition recovery, so we've got rehydrate, so drink plenty of fluid, in particular water after a session, and replenish, so making sure you get plenty of foods on board to replenish what you've burned up during the session, and rebuild, so making sure you get foods that are rich in protein to rebuild the muscles after the session.
Now, we all live very busy lives, and sometimes we have bad days.
Yeah.
Does that matter?
We live in the real world. If you have a bad day, which we all do, just start as best you can again the next day. So start with a good nutritious breakfast, whether it's, porridge or bowl of cereal with some milk, maybe some yogurt, some honey, and try your best to do as best you can.
How would your recovery differ from morning sessions to evening sessions?
Regardless of the time of day, it's just really important to go back to those 3 R's of recovery. So making sure you get your fluid and a good nutritious meal after your training session, irrespective of the time of day.
And thinking of hydration a little bit more, is there specific amounts that people should be having? Is there a lot or a little, depending on who you are?
The easiest thing is keep an eye on the colour of your pee. So when you go to the loo, have a look, and the clearer the pee is, the more hydrated, the better hydrated you are. So that's what you're aiming for. Drink fluid, water as often as you can.
And there you have it, a snapshot of what every budding athlete or fitness expert should know. For more top tips, click this box.
Okay, so now we'll go back here. Do have another one on post in just a bit here. Come on. And share. We will try that one more time. Don't know why that's not working here. Maybe we'll just get rid of share altogether. Share this. We'll just stop share and we will start again. There we go. So they had 3 different R's. They both had rehydrate. Refuel is that, like they said, replenish and then rest, because obviously we need to rest in order to allow for recovery to happen as well. Post-event eating, consume fluid and carbs within 30 minutes of your last effort in training or competition to increase the rate of muscle glycogen storage. You know that already. So what do you need? Calculate carbohydrate needs based on your body weight to replace glycogen stores. So I got this from the United States Anti-Dope Agency. So they had a lot, or anti-doping agency. So determine your body weight in kilograms. Most of us can get that off of our scale, but if you just have pounds on your scale, you divide that by 2.2 to get it into kilograms. And then multiply your body weight in kilograms by 1 gram. It can actually be 1 gram to 1.2 grams, so I just picked the smallest of the numbers for this. So if you have an athlete who's 170 pounds, they can convert that into kilograms by divided by 2.2, so 77 kilograms. So that means they would need 77 grams of carbs each hour for about the first 4 hours after a glycogen depleting event, right? Something that's going to deplete their glycogen to build it back up. So it's quite a bit of carbs for an athlete of that mass. What's in the curriculum that we need to know is just have some ideas of what 50 grams of carbs would be, and then what 50 grams of carbs and 10 grams of protein would be. Okay, so I put some stuff together, and if you want to see where I got these, I put a website on the pages where I got these numbers from. So I just pulled these, the 50 grams of carbs from Canada, Government of Canada website that talks about nutrition. Okay, so approximately, so these are all approximate values because a large potato or a bagel or whatever, like they sort of depend on what we're looking at. But if I'm looking at replenishing 50 grams of carbs, I would need a cup of brown rice or a large potato or 1 and about a quarter bagels if I'm looking at 10 centimeter diameter, a cup of pasta, a cup of rice noodles, or a couple of bananas, right? Now there's more choices than that, than what I have on the list. I wanted to include things that had more complex carbs in them. Banana would have fewer complex and more simple carbs, but I wanted to do something that was easy as well, okay? The next slide here, so I've, again, on the same website, and the link is in the notes part here if you're interested in looking at more examples of this. 2 whole wheat English muffins. That would give us our 50 grams of carbs and about 10 grams of protein. 3 slices of whole wheat bread, okay? Because of the whole wheat, we get more protein in it. 1.5 whole wheat pita, 1.5 cups of corn, about 400 mils of drinkable yogurt, so the yolk kind of stuff. 1 cup of low-fat flavored yogurt, so that would include both the carbs and the protein, okay? So those are some examples of things that you could do to supplement after as a post-workout, okay? So within 30 minutes, you want to have plenty of carbs, right? Some protein, low in fiber and fat, or fat and fiber, because again, those are slow to leave our system, and lots of fluid. And then within 2 hours, a well-balanced meal and fluid, because we want to keep our fluid levels up. So some snack ideas, yogurt and fruit, right? So that'll give us our carbs and our, that'll give us our carbs and our protein. Cereal and milk with dried fruit. So we have carbs and protein here. Dried fruit is a nice simple sugar, as well as lots of iron. Bagel with peanut butter and banana on it. Homemade low-fat muffins. If you're a person who makes muffins, if you want to make them low-fat, something I do is I don't put any oil in my muffins. So I don't put any kind of oil, butter, anything like that. I substitute all of that with applesauce. They're slightly denser, but it gives them a more moist, and then they're completely low-fat muffins. Pita bread with vegetables and hummus. Okay, hummus has a lot of protein in it. Leftover pizza with extra vegetables on it. Okay, and we'll just open this. So this is just another video on post-event. Okay, we'll share that with you guys here. So it's the same little cartoony video that I had before, except now it's post. Okay.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I live in the Central Okanagan. And
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Not sure what they're doing. Come on.
If you're attempting to lose weight, post-workout meals or snacks select satisfy or low carbs consumed extra energy balance of olive oil or
So again, just some different suggestions that have lots of carbs and lots of protein without being simple, a lot of simple sugars, or at least added sugar, right? So there's a lot of stuff that we can do that doesn't have a lot of added sugar that can still supplement, or not supplement, but help us recover. Okay, so we will now see if this works this time. Go back here. Okay. So summary. So when we're starting to have some competition, we want to make sure that we have proper hydration, which we talked about with our hydration section. A training diet, right? So we want to know what we're going to eat several hours before, right before, during, and then after. So before the competition, we're topping up our energy stores. During the competition, we're extending our energy. And then after, we're resting and refueling. So making sure we're understanding that. Okay, and I will include this question, so you don't have to answer this yourself. I'll include it on a worksheet. So what can you implement to improve your energy levels and health? There is a section in the curriculum about food safety, so we're just going to talk about that really quickly, because if you're going out on a competition and you have different foods, so let's say you're bringing some chili with you with like lots of protein, very low fat chili, we want to make sure that we're following food safety. So storing hot foods should be held at about 60 degrees Celsius or warmer. So if you're taking it with you, thermoses for your hot food. Some coolers are really good at keeping hot food insulated. That's really important because the hot will keep the bacteria from growing really fast. But once it cools, then the bacteria can start to grow fast. So even though we heat it up, we're not really going to kill off that quantity of bacteria. Storing cold foods. So 4.4 is about the temperature. It's about 4 degrees is the temperature of a refrigerator. Held at 4.4 or colder. So when you're taking these with you, you want to make sure you have them in a cooler with ice packs. So ice or ice packs in order to keep everything nice and cool. Because again, if we let it warm up, that bacterial population starts to increase quite a bit. So even if we cool the food back down, because all cooling does, it doesn't kill bacteria. Cooling just lets it sit and be dormant. But if we let it sit out for a while, bacteria grows, and then we put it in the fridge. And then we let it sit out for a while, more bacteria grows, and we can start putting ourselves at risk of food poisoning. Okay. Perishable food shouldn't be left out more than 2 hours at room temperature. 1 hour when the temperature is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so about 32 degrees Celsius, which we don't get to very often here. But nonetheless, we want to really be cognizant. You don't want to just have food sitting out beside you, not in your cooler, if it's a perishable food. Okay, so you want to be careful about that. So like salads with creams, eggs, meat, things like that. Cooked leftovers should be eaten within about 4 days. So you want to watch that. And then refrigeration time. So the stuff that's in the curriculum is just eggs and mayonnaise. So that's all I added here. Eggs up to 5 weeks. This is just a carton of eggs. And mayonnaise up to 2 months. So if we're looking at a salad that includes these ingredients, we really want to be careful about that, okay, that we eat it. And usually the best before date will be within these limits. Okay, so we're just going to watch a quick video on food safety.
Life moves fast, but foodborne.
We will try this again.
Life moves fast, but foodborne illness can really slow you down. Fortunately, following the 4 steps to food safety can be quick and easy. Some food-safe habits can take just a few seconds, like washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds before touching food. And washing fruits and vegetables before you eat them. And it only takes to separate meat from produce that won't be cooked. Testing the temperature of cooked foods with a food thermometer before serving can help keep you and your friends safe and healthy. And don't forget, cold foods and leftovers should be refrigerated within 2 hours of cooking or shopping. Remember to take a few seconds for food safety, because food poisoning can cause hours of stomach aches, nausea, diarrhea, and making you feel miserable. And who has time for that? Find out more about food safety at www.fda.
Okay, so for that. There we are. I think, yep, that was it. All right, so that's it for today. Next class, so on Wednesday, we will meet again. So don't forget, you're gonna have a quiz tomorrow that opens at noon for fueling and hydration. And I'll get those worksheets back to you sometime before the end of today. So you'll have them to study off of. And yeah, next week is your final. So I will give you at least one more worksheet, maybe two, and your next worksheet will be on competition nutrition, but we have one more section of notes we'll go through before we finish that. So have yourselves a wonderful day, study up, get yourself caught up, and we're almost done. So take care of yourselves, and we will see you on Wednesday.